Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome my panellists up here. So I've got Joe, and we've got Jeremy, and we have Chris. I'd like to take the chairs. I'm going to get them to introduce themselves. But firstly, who here is not from Canberra? Oh, wow, I didn't expect that. What a beautiful day Canberra's put on for all of us. How beautiful is this autumn day? I'm from the Gold Coast and I didn't expect this.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Yeah, I think they flick it around. I don't know how they do it. Yeah.
Magic.
Magic, yeah. So what a great day, and it's great to see everyone here today. I really would like this to be really interactive. We've got a couple of questions that we've come up between the four of us. But we are going to ask each other. I think we're going to run on the fly a little bit here, and we do welcome interaction from the crowd as well. But first of all, let's introduce my esteemed panellists. We're going to start with you, Joe.
Will this work? Yes. My name is Jo Talbot. I've been in the data world for probably about 13 or so years. I have done all the things, the data strategies, the data governance frameworks, the data capability, and oh boy, I love data governance. I will talk about it until your ears bleed. I also love information governance as well, and I'm really intrigued about how we're moving towards getting our data sorted, whether it's unstructured or structured. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Yeah, go, Jeremy.
Hey, I'm Jeremy Spindler. I'm at the Department of Employment and Workplace Relations. I'm in the data management team at the moment in the employment stream. My background is in probably more data analysis from ARHW and also metadata and metadata management.
Awesome. Good morning, or now good afternoon, I think, everyone. Chris Gondek, otherwise known as Gonzo. I come from NetApp. NetApp is an intelligent data infrastructure company. We've been around for over 30 years, so I'm kind of the storage geek here today to talk about the technology side, how we serve the policies, procedures and processes that you come up with and all of the demands from your data. So, yeah, happy to be here and have this discussion today. Thanks for welcoming us.
Thank you very much. So today's panel discussion is how can government protect and better use data? So I'm going to start with Joe, who just happens to be sitting to my left.
Convenient.
Yes, us ladies stick together here. So there are many concerns in relation to data protection and use and data protection and use both in government and industry. So what do you see as a data governance expert, because you've told us how you love speaking about data governance, the main considerations to protect and better use our data?
That's a great question. Didn't expect it at all. Honestly, what I tell people is it takes a village to raise a data asset. And every organisation in which we work in, you look around, that's your village. And in a village, you've got all different types of people. You've got data stewards, chief data officers, your everyday user, your everyday contributor, people putting stuff into the system, all the things. And in order to protect and use that data, you need to understand that data. You need to know what boundaries there are, what constraints. Because once you know the constraints, where that edge of the cliff is, you can go right up to it and start enabling some really cool stuff. So in my experience, the hardest thing is knowing where that edge is. And in the data governance world, it's helping people, partnering across wherever you work with your security people, your cyber people, your office of legal counsel people, your data stewards, your data custodians, partnering with all of them to show everyone what it looks like. Where is that edge of that ledge? And once you understand the data, know the constraints, know where the edge of the ledge is, you can protect it, but also enable it. One of things I always get asked about is how do we deal with employee data? Everyone has employees in their organisation. There's a bunch of sensitive information in there, cool, but there's also some really useful information. And just about workflows, improving processes, things like that. I'm not just talking about, reporting and analytics at the end, but the processes in the system. When you get a new person on board, you have to probably do several tickets, go to different teams and all that stuff. But if you open HR data a little bit safely, then you can start improving those processes. Someone comes in the door, they can log into the computer straight away. Where I just recently started at ACMA, I had a laptop and a login first day. I was I was astounded. It was awesome. So that's just one example of understanding what data you have, the constraints, and then how you can use it to improve processes and also improve insights. So yeah, basically village, raise an asset, find the boundary, dance around boundary.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. Just to elaborate, you and I have talked about this before, but how do you actually get that started? Like you've talked about the edge and the village. That's all well and good. How do we do that?
So I like a sandwich approach. So you've got the senior execs up the top, and then you got your average Joes there. I'm a slightly above average Joe for the record. But basically going at both of those at the same time with different angles. So people in the executive space, they like to not engage with too much risk. They like that comfort. They like to get insights. People at the operational level, they like to just do their jobs. They like to have the data and information they need, and they want systems that work. So it's about connecting with the different layers at their level. And so you just talk to them. So the exec, the SES, you talk about the whole government initiatives, what the expectations are, and what's in it for them, like, you know, not ending up on the newspaper and the news because you caused a data breach, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the lower levels, the operational levels, showing them what the power of data can do. I mean, and just talking about that language, like if people who are doing data entry or customer service, they get a customer that calls up and says, I didn't get my correspondence because why? And that's because we have multiple records for one person. And so all these people at that operational level are getting these calls. So it's about talking to them about, okay, well, if we look at the processes and the tools we have to remove duplication, you won't get yelled at so much. So it's about meeting people at their level, whatever it is. And with that balance of fear, but also that enablement. So talking to people, giving them the tools they need, the standards, showing them where the line is, and then ultimately, because data governance teams are always really small, we basically, that federated hub and spoke model, really standing up those data stewards, so mini data champions in the little areas. So whatever data issues they have, go to the people they know in the context of the business, and then they basically come to us and we help them fix the problem. That's really bright.
Isn't it? Yes.
Hang on, this is my better side. Sorry.
Thanks, Joe.
No
I
worries.
appreciate that. We've been talking a lot, and I've even this morning, about employee and personal data. So, Jeremy, within the data management realm and you in your employment function of government, what do you believe we need to improve to protect our data?
For me, well, I suppose everybody here works in data. Funding's one of the hardest things to get. Once we're working outside of our general BAU data analysis or data management, trying to actually expand and go to that next step to make better use of our data, funding's really difficult. So for us in our section, we really try to plan ahead what we're going to do next. We try to come up with some well thought out ideas. So then when we get the opportunity through budget bids or other NPP processes or new policy proposal processes, we can actually implement it hopefully through there. We've had some success recently where instead of going out on our own to do NPP proposals, we'll wait till one crosses our desk. Hopefully something that we can make some meaningful differences with data management, and then use those pre-thought out ideas that will fit well with the project that's been presented and make sure we submit it out through there. So it does increase chances of success, because it's also the data management side of things for that particular project will be greatly enhanced, but then also it's something that we can use ongoing as well as part of the rest of the department. We find as well when projects aren't funded properly from the start, it's really difficult to not go straight to the solution and try and implement something as soon as possible, where data governance and things like that generally drop off if there's not enough funding to do that from the outset. So I think one recently that we were able to rescope an NPP project, we've kept the same end goal of releasing data at a regional level. We're still part-way through it, but we've rescoped it enough to be able to include some technology aspects that will be able to hopefully help us with privacy implications and also data lineage as well.
You've mentioned funding as a challenge as well as, well, it's a challenge. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you found for the protection of and use of data?
Yeah, I think personal data privacy is one of our biggest challenges. We spoke a lot this morning about gaining trust, and it's definitely something that people are always keeping an eye out for. They want to make sure their data's protected. So I think we've got way too much data coming in now to be able to do it as a manual process. We need to be leaning on technology wherever possible, and whatever works best for the organisation, which ones fit best. There's so many to choose from. It's up to, I suppose, the ICT areas and data management teams, data governance, to work out which one works best for your organisations.
Do you think, now I am putting you on the fly here, do you think that there's so much data coming in and so much data being created? I mean, it's just spiraling. How do we even keep control of that? Doesn't matter what ICT, do you know what I mean? Like, there's systems out there that we don't even know about that are sitting on, people are using that organisations aren't even aware of. How do we actually control it? So I'm getting right off on a tangent here, but...
So we're in the process of trying to implement Purview, so that will scan all of the data assets and come up with a data asset register. It will hopefully list all of the areas where there's privacy or personal identifiable information included as well. So as I said, it's difficult, going to be different for every organisation, but we're hoping that that one will work well for us, so we'll be able to stay on top of what our data holdings are, because as you said, there's some data holdings that are an Excel spreadsheet sitting on someone's desktop, some that are stored in data warehouses and data lakes. So it's,
some are stored on my own device. I'm just saying that happens, doesn't it? Just talking about technology, Chris, I'll move over to you. So as an overview, what insights can you share with all of us today as the technology expert in relation to improved protection and better use of data?
Yeah, I think it's interesting what both Joe and Jeremy have said, because you started off by talking about understanding data, and then you got effectively to the funding of the technology that serves the data management, and you almost said a term that I use called the tail wagging the dog, right? If you don't set your policies and procedures first to then dictate what technology investments you make, if you rush to the solution, you're then bound by the solution. From a technology perspective, I've been in the industry almost 30 years, and when I hear the word data, I think storage. It's not just because I work for a data storage vendor, but if you follow the bouncing ball of every application, every workload, every piece of information, that data is stored somewhere. It could be behind an Excel spreadsheet, or it could be behind a database. Storage technology has really evolved over the years, and that storage technology is playing an increasingly important role in what used to be outside the storage. So things like classification. Classification is important to understand and identify your data to determine, does it contain sensitive and personal information? Which, by the way, in Australia, we have the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner, and we define that extremely well. We have one of the best and most longest running data privacy laws, and those cyber laws are evolving with the high profile breaches that we've had over the last couple of years. The second piece is the security piece, and that's where it kind of leads to. Knowing what you have means that you know what to protect and what you can share, especially when you're going, interagency and things like that. And we've been hearing a lot about AI, right? Now, AI largely is the marketing term that breaks down into machine learning and deep learning and things like larger language models. When we classify the data into information, we then can put extra protection mechanisms in place. We use autonomous ransomware protection in our storage technology that combines with something called user behavior analysis. So when you define, I think the previous gentleman that spoke here was, who has what access to the right data at the right time. When you define those rules, we need AI to monitor that activity, because it's happening constantly all the time. A good example would be if I log on 9 to 5 every day and I interrogate a number of different systems that I should have access to, that is normal behavior for me. But if I'm suddenly logged on, it might not be me, it might be my stolen, phished user credentials at 3 a.m. and I'm trying to copy out significant amounts of data from a sensitive repository, then autonomous ransomware protection and user behavior analytics stops that activity, blocks that activity with a tamper-proof recovery point, and alerts all the right people. Now, you might think, how far does that go? What if I'm the administrator who created the environment? We're now getting to the point where we're doing multi-admin verification, and I hate to use the term, but to launch a nuclear missile there's probably 4 or 5 people that have to enter codes and turn keys for that to happen. Similar concept.
So it's like the bank, when when I go out spending and it says to me, you've spent a bit too much money, and is this you actually using your card? So it's a similar concept. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. The financial services industry is a good model because fraud detection is paramount for them. It's their whole business. So looking at normal patterns of usage and behaviour is the same as us day-to-day interacting with our data. Now, the only place that can happen, and this isn't me saying stop doing cybersecurity or stop doing backup and recovery, is at the storage, because the storage is where the data asset lives. And we've been speaking about giving users keys to the kingdom. They get past the firewalls every day because they must have access to the data to work with it. And then the data protection regime needs to have a backup copy before it can restore from. And if you're going to the backup copy, it's kind of too late at that point. Something's happened. Hit the restore button. They're live at the storage layer using things like artificial intelligence with autonomous ransomware protection and user behavior analysis is where we're getting to the forefront of being able to stop these things happening in real time.
We wouldn't be a panel without mentioning AI. Now, we've said it 3 times, so we've met our expectations. But in all seriousness, Joe and Jeremy, Chris has mentioned about AI. What's your take from a governance perspective on AI? And Jeremy, I'll ask you next. In relation to data governance.
Yeah, well, I'll probably say Christ-opportunity. It can be bad if you don't do it well, if you don't govern it. I think the unloved area of data governance is actually information governance and records management. I think...
See, I love Joe. I love it.
She pays me well. No. I'm kidding. Oh, God, I'm kidding. No, but seriously, I think... So after COVID happened, everyone was told to go home. Paper was not really a thing anymore. Everyone's like, go on SharePoint or whatever productivity tools, like, now go use this. And they may not have had governance in place. So, in a year, 8 million pieces of content could have been created. Do they have metadata on it? Probs not. AI relies on metadata. And I think we've done pretty well in doing the metadata for our structured data world. It's been drilled into us since 2015 when they said, data is an asset. It's like, yep, cool. But now that unstructured data world, everyone knowing what is something you should keep, what you shouldn't keep, how you can use it, what is what's the source of truth. I mean, in some areas I'm aware of, if you go on the intranet and try and find what is the latest, data sharing policy, 5 versions come up over the past several years. If we were to set an AI onto it, which one are they going to choose? So it's about getting your content right, and you can use different tools, but you also need to understand the business practices that you have. A tool is great, but it falls over if you don't have the business practices and understanding in place within the organisation. So in my world, I love to bring data and information governance together. To really attack that, because I think there is so much opportunity with AI to reduce the unnecessary operational overhead, the double handling, all that stuff. But if we don't do it right, we're going to be in a world of hurt. So yes, that's all I got.
I totally agree. Thanks, Joe.
Excellent.
Jeremy, AI, data.
Go. We need quite a strong business case to get access to AI in our department, so I haven't applied for it yet. But I think, unstructured data is definitely one of the passion pieces that one of our staff members in the team is going to work on soon. So we will come up with a proposal to link up with an NPP, like I said earlier, and try and get some of that governance around unstructured data happening before we have wide-scale access to AI in the department.
Okay. We're talking about unstructured data a lot, and unstructured data in a lot of instances are records, what we call, at RIMPA, called records. The relationship, data and records, is there one? Are they the same? It's a controversial... Chris, I'll start with you, sorry.
That's the classification process. Unstructured data is exactly that, unstructured. We don't know what it belongs to. And the technology that's used is called content indexing. It cracks open the file, it reads it, and then this is where artificial intelligence comes in with a certain degree of confidence that I think this is a financial record, or I think this is some sensitive information, personally identifiable information. We're seeing the closer connection between the data and governance and compliance technologies come together. And this has to happen first. If you look at Essential 8, the National Institutes of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework identifies the first step. And that's what's driving the rest of the chain down the line, what to protect, what to make high performance and available, and what to share, and things like that. I unfortunately,
I know, that's why I asked
I've
you
got to get on a
first.
plane in like 25 minutes. Do you think I'll make it?
No, no.
No, as in I've got to be at the airport in 25 minutes. But I'm so sorry, folks. I'll leave you in the very capable hands of the rest of the panel.
Thank you, Chris. Can everyone join me in thanking Chris? Thank you. We do have a bit more time. I have got the clock going. We're good. This makes it even better now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris. The question in relation to records and data, is there a relationship? Are they the same? How do you, Jeremy?
Oh, yeah.
This was put on the spot. Can you not tell? Yes. No? Yeah, go on, Joe.
I think they are siblings that didn't know they were related. Truly, I used to look after just data governance in my old agency, and then I'm like, I'm bringing over information governance and records too, because they both have the same end goal. It's just slightly different application. So I think they're very related, and I think if you're going to do one, you have to do both.
Yeah. No, great. We've got Jen's just told me we've got 4 minutes, so can we have any questions from the audience to these two most wonderful panellists? There's one. Don't you love it, Jen, that you've got to walk? Oh, no, you don't have to. Only halfway. Hello. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi,
please?
and I introduced myself in the last session, but Carrie Walden, Melbourne Water, if anyone's joined the room.
Melburnian, yes.
Hi.
That's my original home.
And this one's probably for you.
Oh, okay.
I'm really interested in your alignment between unstructured data and records, because the majority of my time that I spend in data governance is with unstructured data in our structured databases.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to the old days, because I've been around a long time, because part of my bio actually said that I was a veteran, and I said to Olga, please do not say that. Right? But years ago, before data became trendy, guys, records were a little bit more trendy, believe it or not. I've tried to be making them sexy for a long time, but it hasn't worked. But anyway, data was always the structured, when you fill in the fields on a screen, that was deemed data, and unstructured data was correspondence. Right? I'm being very simplistic here. That's my relationship to records. Correspondence has always been deemed records, so they come in, comes in through the old days, Australia Post or email, it doesn't matter these days, and was then classified into a business classification scheme or whatever you wish to call it, and that was then deemed unstructured data, because we couldn't do that as records managers with the structured data, the fields that you filled in systems. So that's the analogy. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Yep. Absolutely. And this is why I asked about the relationship between the two. I think there's a full relationship, and I think that we actually intertwine, and I do think that we're a brother from another mother, sister from another mother, whatever you want to call it, being sibling, yeah. I do agree with Joe on that entirely. So I'm interested in anyone else's comments about records and data. No?
We've blown their minds.
Go on, you've got something more to say, Joe. I know. Oh, no, here we go. Olga.
Oh, hello. I think they were actually twins separated at birth. That's my view. But, I'm still constantly amazed how we pretend that there are two different things.
Yeah. I wish, and I'll be honest, I wish that records have become as trendy as data has. Data's really is trendy, and it's really important where there's chief data officers, and we don't have chief records officers.
It's I think with AI you'll see that shift, and with people moving towards in-place records management and things like that, and use of SharePoint, all that, whatever.
Yep.
It will be a thing, because most of the things systems we use, consumption-based pricing models, all that kind of stuff, more records, more expensive. So you'll have your day. Don't worry.
Thanks for that, Jo. I'll be old and done by then. As I said, my husband said I was going to die very unsatisfied trying to make records management sexy. Just quickly, Jeremy, you mentioned very quickly, I know we've got to finish up, Purview. So Purview is, records managers just love Purview. So, yeah, do you want to talk a bit more about what you're looking at?
We're still in the implementation phases, but at this stage it's looking like it will. Yep, I think the data lineage and the metadata side of things, I think it will produce the technical metadata that we need to link up with our business metadata to be able to...
Yep.
Be able to help with all that data lineage and also data linkage across different agencies as well.
Thank you, and thank you for the government acronyms and explaining them because I certainly don't know them all. So, Jen, I think that's time for us, isn't it?
There's just an online question.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so what tool are you suggesting to scan your different repositories to identify P22? I'm not sure how to read this though. P2.
Oh, no, PII.
PII, okay.
So that was around Purview. So the Microsoft Azure product Purview will scan records, only stores technical metadata over the top, doesn't actually store any data itself, but then it can be structured in a way so you can easily identify where any personal identifiable information is stored in any of the databases scanned.
My very quick view on that is not many systems do it all. You may have to be comfortable with the thought that you may have to have more than one system for different applications for data governance, whether it's structured or unstructured, and if it's on a platform or in source or whatever it is. So I can't recommend just one.
Good, that's good. Thank you. Please join me in thanking our esteemed panellists. They've been amazing. Thank you, Jo. Thank you, Jeremy. And thank you all for being involved. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.